All right, everybody. I want to talk about the cheaper vehicles that Tesla is slated to release here in the next couple months. My thesis now, which has changed from months ago, is that these are going to be cheaper Model 3s and Ys. I think that's becoming quite obvious because the company, Lars specifically, the head of engineering, is talking about trying to ship as many units as possible through the production lines that Tesla has built out so far. And so the question becomes, what's the strategy for Tesla with these cheaper vehicles? I think the big story with those cars is that Tesla is likely going to really drive margin down on the auto business a lot to try and get units out the door. Right now, Tesla is making about, with the ZEV credits, the zero emissions vehicle credits, they're making roughly 16%, 15% gross margin, call it, on their cars. What's this guy doing up there? And so if you're selling your car, on average, you're selling it for $40,000, 15% margin. Here we go. I'm going to be doing math in my head while I'm driving. 15% margin on $40,000 is roughly $6,000 of profit they're making per car right now, on average. Those are rough estimates. Those aren't exact numbers. So let's call them rough estimates. And with this cheaper vehicle, what they're trying to do is they're trying to say, okay, we're yank cost out of the car through maybe cheaper cloth seats, speakers. I think something similar to what they're doing with the Cybertruck, where they're really almost like dumbing down the car, I think to too much of an extent, my personal opinion. But they're trying to yank out as much cost as possible to try to make the car as affordable as possible. With the existing 3 and Y, which they very clearly said they're going to push through the existing lines, the 3 and Y lines. You can only do so much. You're constrained by the line. There's not, you might have like $5,000, maybe $6,000 you can yank out of the 3 and Y, and that's probably pushing it. But the other side of it, the flip side, is that Tesla could choose to sell these at break even. Tesla's making about $6,000 per car right now, and they're able to yank out about $5,000 to $6,000 from the Model 3 and Y by, let's say, dumbing it down and making it more cost effective. And they choose to sell at break even, you can drop the price of those vehicles like $10,000 out the door. The problem is Tesla won't make any money on those vehicles. Like literally, they will not make any money, and they're going to be dependent on their more expensive vehicles to make up the margin. But the variable that's missing here that I think Tesla's going to lean into extremely heavily, if you listen to the company, if you listen to Elon specifically, we'll see if this actually plays out, because this is such a unorthodox way of running the company versus every other car company that it kind of makes people like very hesitant to even invest in the company because of this, right? And none of this is investment advice, but I just want to talk through this. The self-driving portion, the FSD portion of it, can become a gigantic profit lever for the company, even with cars that they sell at break even. And I really think that's their strategy with these cheaper vehicles. So what do I mean? Tesla's going to be able to sell a Model 3-like or a Model Y-like, more affordable model, again, yanking out all those costs and potentially even selling it at break even. That's $10,000 below where they are today. So the Model 3 will start at like 32, let's say, 31, 32, or 33, whatever the number is. And then Tesla's going to be like, yo, we got you into this car for mega cheap. Check this out. You can use FSD, full self-driving, supervised, like this Cybertruck is driving itself right now. I still got to pay attention to the road. But we'll sell to you for $99 a month, and you can subscribe at any point. You can unsubscribe at any point. But we are betting on the software being so good. We're betting on it being so helpful and stress-free and something you will not want to live without, that we're almost going to bet that you're not going to pass that up. I really think that's the strategy from Tesla. If you have a Tesla vehicle, especially with hardware 4, like this Cybertruck or the newer cars that have been shipping for the last year or so, call it, you have seen the improvement to the point where this software has become so incredibly useful and so good. I mean, just literally go online and watch any hardware 4 self-driving videos. We were just in St. Petersburg, Florida. We rented a two-row Model 3, and that one had the latest version of FSD. And it was really eye-opening how awesome that software is. Once you like go to a region that you're not familiar with and you just let the car do the driving, you're like, holy crap. Like, even for somebody like me who has been following this company as closely as I have, the light bulbs keep going off about this technology. Once you step into the mindset and the reality of 99.9% of the population, which is that none of them have been behind the wheel of a self-driving Tesla. And then the light bulbs just go off. You're like, okay, so why why would I rent a car or buy a car that doesn't drive itself? When I rented the Turo in St. Petersburg, it was $70 a day. I don't know if I got ripped off or not. I think that's a pretty fair price on Turo for a Model 3. Brand new Model 3 had 300 miles on it. It was one of the refreshed Highlands or whatever. And it came with hardware 4, FSD 13.2.8. 13.2.8 was the version. $70 a day. And that car just drove me around. So I literally just had a private chauffeur for $70 a day. This is the piece that people don't understand. That the technology is already extremely real. These cars right now literally are driving themselves. And for Tesla to come out with an even more affordable vehicle like the cheaper 3 or Y, whatever they're going to call these, that out the door is going to be more affordable than a Camry, more affordable than a Accord. Out the door, not even counting electricity savings, not even counting insurance savings or maintenance savings. Out the door cheaper. And then on top of that, it's going to drive itself. This is not something that people are fully grasping. I really don't think. Except for maybe Wall Street, which is a weird thing to say on this channel because we've been very critical of Wall Street in the past. If you look at again, none of this is price action. None of this is financial advice. But if you look at how Wall Street has been reacting to the Tesla earnings, if you look at all the news reports, all the stuff that's out there, it's not really that sunny right now. All the stuff that's out there about, oh my God, 71% less earnings. Oh my God, sales are down. Oh my God, Elon's destroying the brand. Oh my God, look at Elon and Trump are having they're breaking up. Oh my God, the tariffs. Oh my God, blah. It's like noise everywhere. It's like the brand is collapsing. The car is collapsing. Everything's going to shit. Everything's going to shit. If you just look around, you just read the comments on my videos, everything is going to shit. Everything is just collapsing. And it's very reminiscent of like the short sell pressure from like 2017, 2018, 2019, when the Model 3 was ramping and everybody was thinking, not everybody, but like, short sellers were extremely, extremely loud about how close the brand is to complete and total destruction and collapse, which you would get into the mind of a potential buyer that's telling you that the brand you want to buy from will not exist in like 2 days because they're about to go bankrupt. Put yourself in the buyer. And then what ended up happening, Tesla smashed sales records. Why? Because they had a value proposition that was unbeatable, an affordable electric vehicle, okay? The Model 3, and then the Model Y took that to an even greater level. I find it hard to believe that the advent of self-driving, either supervised or unsupervised, that isn't of a similar flavor, let's say, especially in this time, when there's all this noise about how terrible of a job Elon's doing and how Doge is ruining everything and how sales are down and profits are down, even though the brand is switching over Model Y from an old version to a new version all at once. And that's, of course, going to impact sales in the first quarter. And the fact that they had record test drives in Q1, it's very, very reminiscent of that. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this means that the stock's going to go up or down, or that for sure Tesla's going to sit down and like break sales record in the second quarter. I'm not going to say that. But I personally, me as a human being, I feel confident that the value proposition of this car, of this brand, is unbeatable. And now it's up to the company and up to the consumer, the customer, to believe that and vote with their wallet. And I really think 80% of the population is going to act in a way that's aligned with that. 70%, whatever the number is, just pick a number. It's going to be the significant majority. They're going to look at value for dollar, and there's hate everywhere because of Elon's his decision to get involved with politics. But it doesn't take away from the brand. And honestly, there's a lot of people out there that are also believers in what Elon's saying. 25% of the country in the United States specifically is a Democrat, let's say. And let's say all of those people are completely pissed off with Elon. They'll never touch Tesla again. Fantastic. What about the other 75% of the country? And I'm willing to bet a majority of those Democrats are still going to buy Tesla. I don't see all these Tesla cars on sale, right? I see them all the time. Ever since I bought my Cybertruck and I'm driving it around town about a month ago, it's been nothing but positive. Even with interactions with people that I know hate Trump. And they're very likely not fans of Elon at all. It's fine. Are they going to buy a Tesla? Probably not. But that's okay. Not everybody should be forced to buy a Tesla, right? But the value proposition, going back to like the topic of this video, the value proposition is the unbeatable piece. And then you layer on top of that too, that Tesla's going to look to get these more affordable cars, the 3 in the wild, whatever, their entire fleet out into the wild with this self-driving technology, which is going to launch here in the Austin area in June as a sort of small 10 to 20 car trial for Tesla to test their rideshare, unsupervised rideshare, robotaxi thing, like a Waymo, right? Those same customers that are going to be able to buy a cheaper Tesla, let's say starting at $32,000, $31,000, whatever that number is, $30,000. Those same exact customers, once regulations turn this on, the regulators turn this on, they're going to be able to add that car to the fleet. That car is going to make money for them while they're not even in the car, and it's going to help them pay for their monthly payment. So effectively, there's going to be customers out there at some point. I'm not saying this is this year or next year or even 5 years in the future, but at some point when you have a vehicle that can drive itself, the regulators allow it to drive itself, and it costs $30,000 or less to purchase, you're going to have a forcing function for people to go out of their way to buy those vehicles. And the ones that do and want to basically own it for free, effectively, if they want to use the personal vehicle, they can just add it to the freaking fleet. It's literally the same thing as people that buy homes and they rent out the other rooms in their homes. I have had many friends in the past, and I'm sure a lot of you probably do this in your personal lives. You own a house, you own a condo, you own you own a townhome or like a side-by-side townhome or something like that. You buy it, right? And then you're like, okay, I can afford the mortgage, but it'd be really nice if I get an extra $1,000 a month so I can kind of cover the expense of the mortgage, right? And what do? If you're a single guy or like, you and a girlfriend or something, but you have 3 bedrooms, you rent out the other 2 bedrooms, right? This is the same exact thing that's going to happen with the vehicles. That's why people do two-row. Two-row is the same exact thing, right? But the thing with two-row is that you have to go through this intermediary and then you have to go drop off the car and you have to do all this extra stuff, right? Or even Airbnb, like Elon uses the Airbnb example. And this is why this is why he's saying it. A percentage of the time you're going to own that vehicle, you're going to let somebody else use it. And then when they give it back to you, you get to pocket some money. But what's the big difference here? You do not touch the vehicle. It just goes. It just bounces, leaves your driveway, goes and picks it up. And this sounds insane to a lot of people, right? This sounds absolutely fucking crazy to a lot of people, but not to the people that are actually behind the steering wheel of these cars. And that's a gigantic disconnect right now. And it blows my mind that it's a disconnect, but it's a disconnect. There is a certain percentage of the population that has gotten behind the steering wheel and pedal of a self-driving FSD, hardware 4, 1328 vehicle, and they fully understand that this is a solved problem. It's not a question of if Tesla can achieve autonomy. It's a question of when will regulators allow them to do it, okay? That's the disconnect. And then the rest of the people, right? Most people are not even paying attention. They're living their lives. They're normal. 95% of the population, they're just living their lives. They're not even watching this video. They're saying, what the fuck is this guy saying? I don't even care. They clicked off this video 1 second into the video, okay? Nobody else knows this is happening. And I really think that's what Wall Street's now paying attention to, because the stock is not really going downwards much. It's not really going down, even after very poor earnings in the first quarter, because of the reasons we talked about in the other video, if you want to check it out. And I think it's very important to keep that in mind, It's very important to keep that in mind in these times when it almost feels like maximum noise. It feels like there's a maximum doubt that the company is actually going to do this. With the additional noise from the politics angle, the Doge angle, the Elon supporting Trump angle, Trump being a super divisive figure, right? Poor Q1 numbers. There's a lot of factors going on right now that are creating a lot of negative attention, negative forces, negative feedback. And Wall Street, which is a mechanism to price in what the public might be thinking about a story, doesn't care. Now, it's also true that they don't care because everything hinges on tariffs. Everything hinges on tariffs right now. But wouldn't you think that if there really was a huge problem with the brand and the company, even after the first quarter earnings, wouldn't you think the stock would be lower? Just throwing it out there, not financial investment advice. These are the data points that I look at to see, engage the health of a story. And so we'll see. We'll see if this thesis plays out. We'll see if I'm, a fucking psycho, lunatic, cultist, idiot, which, some people might think I am. We'll see if that's true. Or what I think is the most likely scenario is that the people that actually own the cars and drive them and have the latest software, those folks, the ones that actually have driven or are being driven every single day, and they see the technology for what it is, they experience it every single day, and are able to separate noise from signal, I think those people will end up being right. The ones that actually know what's happening, not the ones that think they know what's happening, or the people that are capitalizing on a lot of negative stuff that's happening right now, that they think what's happening. I think those people are going to be very disappointed soon, honestly. I think those people are going to be very disappointed. They have every right to go down that path. I think that the different ideas and the different feelings and the different ways people are thinking about the story is what helps people like me understand what is actually happening, because I can test the negative thesis. I can test the, oh my God, Tesla's fuck thesis, or the Elon is an idiot thesis. I can take them and be like, okay, so what is actually happening then? What is actually factually what is actually happening? And then when you're like, okay, so the cells are collapsing. Okay, what else happened in Q1? Oh, they switched over the lines for their best-selling product in the Model Y, and it went from the legacy one to the new one. And that's about 1 million unit run rate per year, and that's going to be heavily impacted by switching over to the thing. Okay, cool. When I went to pick up my Cybertruck end of March, were there people in the stores? Yeah, there were a lot of people in their stores. Were people buying Teslas? Yeah, people are buying Teslas. When I drive around, do I see a lot of Teslas? Yeah, I see a frick ton of Teslas. When I talk to people that live in California, in some of the most liberal places of the state, do they still see Teslas? Yes. When they go to the store, are people still buying Teslas? Yes. When I talk to people in Germany, are people still driving their Teslas? Yes. Are people still buying Teslas? Yes. It's like, okay. Okay, so at some point, right, the noise goes away and the reality of the situation becomes clear, which is no other company is doing what Tesla's doing. Okay, cool. So that it is what it is. It is what it is. It might take 3 months to materialize, 3 years to materialize, 10 years to materialize at this point, who knows? Timing these things it's like an impossible mission, and I've made the mistake in the past of trying to fucking figure out timing, honestly, which was a mistake on my side. But the underlying story, probably stronger than ever, given that they figured out how to solve for self-driving. And that same exact technology is going to solve for the human or robot. And the labor market is orders of magnitude bigger than the driving market. So anyway, let me know what you think of this style of video. I'm going to try to do these every day. Just kind of like try to turn this Cybertruck into a studio, into a mobile studio. I'm actually going to a place, I'm going to hook up my Starlink, and I'm going to try to do everything online from the car, upload the video, edit it, and all that stuff. I want to turn this thing into like a content machine, like in every sense imaginable. So curious to see what you think of this video, this format rather, of me just talking out loud. I'm going to work on the sound quality. I'm going to work on the video quality, the angles. I was thinking about doing like cameras on the outside as well to capture the scenery as I'm driving around, because I'm driving through some pretty beautiful places. So I think it'd be cool to kind of share that as I'm talking from the dome and trying to figure out what the hell's going on with not just Tesla, but really with anything. I think this format for me is going to be like exploratory on the things, on all the things that I find interesting. And the people that find it interesting, enjoy. If you don't find it interesting, that's okay too. All right. Bye, everybody.